Yes, remember you will find the StripeCon music on all major music platforms. And now,
Yeah.
and as we are in time, the whole times, we keep going with Julian and Lightning Talk. We still have no, guys, we still have no image on the screen.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, Julian spoke with me early on and he said he wanted to make a talk about CQRS. And I asked him, did you spell it correctly?
Yeah.
And he said yes, and I had to Google it. So he will explain what he's doing.
I will. Thank you. Yeah, guys, I want to talk about data documents, which is a CQRS-style approach for managing data redundancy the good way. So before I start, who knows what CQRS is? Who has heard of it? Nobody. Yeah, no worries, no worries. We'll get to that. But as a short pitch, so thanks to Philip, I had to come up with a very short pitch because he just asked me 5 minutes ago what the whole thing is about, and think of it as another Silverstripe headless approach, but without an API. Okay. Let me start with a little case study. And I want to showcase very briefly the Help Me app. That is an application and a company where we hold some stakes in, and we presented the application actually on a very popular German television show called Die Höhle der Löwen in 2021. And that is a show, I think it's a ripoff of the English or American show Shark Tank. I guess you all know like this kind of show. So founders pitch their products in front of a jury of investors, then they negotiate, then there's TV drama, and then they get the investment or not. So yeah, we did that in 2021. And it's a mobile application. You can scan barcodes from food, and you not only can see the ingredients because that was already there, but what we did is we grabbed the allergen and additive information and cross-checked with a personal like health profile, and then had like indication if this is good for you to eat or not. And yeah, that is what it's all about. And with that TV show, our goals were, of course, visibility for our product, pushing the sales for our bundle products because we had like a physical test bundle with a partnering company, and we wanted, of course, to sell a lot of stuff during the TV show airing. We wanted to distribute ad content from our partners. We wanted to have app user conversions, especially we wanted to sell paid subscriptions within the app. And sure, we wanted to close an investor deal. But as the TV airing came closer, as the date came closer, as you guys can imagine, that was like a rock solid date. Because in project business, we all know that there's a deadline, then you like fell in love with coding and everything takes longer as expected, and then you need to shift the deadline. But if something will be aired on TV, you cannot shift the deadline. So that was actually a tough situation for us. So yeah, the TV studio told us, guys, you need to be aware of a couple of things. There will be very high load traffic on all of your systems that you're showing during the TV show, especially during your part, of course. You need to have a very easy and stable checkout flow if you want to sell stuff. And be aware, and that was particularly interesting, that trolls will probably try to attack and break and hack your systems, because they told us it was not the first series of that TV show that this is always happening. And we were okay, good to know, and that actually had major implications on our whole backend infrastructure, because when we first started the project, we were like, yeah, we'll use Silverstripe for everything in the backend, because as we learned earlier, everything that can be done with Silverstripe should be done with Silverstripe. So yeah, but then we thought, okay, we were asking for some numbers, and they told us probably 3 million people are watching these shows, and you can expect that at least 1/3 will go to the website, will click around, download the app and all of this. And we, of course, wanted everything to be super stable. And then we thought, okay, how to pull this off? Should we go the traditional way and have like 2 or 3 instances with the load bands and with the database? Then we have to call Dirk, give him a lot of money, and we don't want to do that. So we thought of a whole different infrastructure, and we came up with that. Easy peasy, right? So as you can see, the blue box, of course, is our Silverstripe application. And actually, it's just a single instance, and it's even basic auth protected. So that one wasn't supposed to be exposed to the end users. It basically was like management backend, and it did 3 things. So if you look at the top, you can see we had like the static publishing module and all the pages. We ported to a protected AWS S3 bucket, and we exposed that to the outside world over CloudFront. Because, well, good luck hacking CloudFront, right? So we felt safe on the website. With the products we wanted to sell, we not went for Silver Shop because we weren't aware of the great stuff the Finnish guys are doing. So we decided to go with Shopify because it was really just 2 products, and yeah, we decided to use their infrastructure and just use these checkout widgets so that we can just include in the UI of our static pages, and then everything is handled on their systems because they also have good stability. Plus, if something would have gone wrong, we could have sued them. So, cool. Second check mark, products safe. But then we had this, in quotes, problem that we managed all the ads that I mentioned earlier within the Silverstripe backend, because that was another reason why we used Silverstripe. As you can see on the left, our very diverse HealthMe admin team was managing everything for the application in the Silverstripe app. So we had a lot of model admins for ads, for pages, for products, and so on. And this is actually where I still think Silverstripe can really shine, the whole authoring experience in the backend, and also for this project we had really good experiences. So the question was how to deliver this ad content to the mobile application. And yeah, we didn't want to like provide just an API or a GraphQL endpoint, because then again we would be in that game that we need to provide good stability of the Silverstripe app. So what we did is we pushed that to a real-time database living in Firebase, because we were using Firebase already for some parts of the mobile application, and that was the authentication. We used Firestore for all the user profile management, remote config, and all of these bells and whistles they provide. And with the real-time database, we thought that could be kind of cool, because there you're not built per read, but per write. And we knew we will probably have just, well, a couple of dozens of writes once we get all the ads that we want to have in place when the TV show aired, to have that right. But we will have a lot of reads, because as you know, ads in a mobile application, if you have a lot of users, you need to display them fairly often. So real-time DB was a good fit for us. But then the thing is, we kind of ended up like having duplicate data or maybe redundant data. And we felt, is this really a bad thing? Because in the Silverstripe app with the whole model admin and the data object structure for the ads, we felt safe on a data like quality level, because we have our structure normalized, everything in the Maria database, so everything cool. And for the mobile app, we needed JSON structure. And this was like the first spark where we said something like a document format, like JSON document format of our data object and data object structure would be kind of cool. And this is, yeah, as the name suggests, the red box below the blue box, this is where our data documents CQRS style approach came into life. And as a consequence, because we had all the check marks, we've been even able to shut our Silverstripe instance server down during the TV show. Because if you look at that again, we like warmed all the caches. We had the website, the pages on CloudFront, we had the products on Shopify, we had the ad server on Firebase. So we shut our servers down, because let's face it, people, nobody can hack your servers if your servers are down. It's true. It's true. And actually that turned out pretty well for us. the numbers they told us were actually quite precise. I think we had, I don't know the exact numbers anymore, but we had around 1.8 million unique website visitors. So there was quite some traffic because we had just an 18-minute slot in that show, and everything happened in these 18 minutes. I think we had around 20,000 app registrations and download from the stores. And I think I don't allow to tell you the numbers, how many packages we sold, but let's just say I was happy that we went for the Shopify approach. And the thing is, if you have that in place, that one Silverstripe instance, that was hosted on Hetzner for $20 a month. So really, when looking at the pricing, because we knew we will only have this one peak during the TV show airing, and then, of course, the following days there was some PR activities. Of course, there was good traffic, but not that peak again, not that peaky. So it was okay to have this rock solid setup just for that one day. So it would have been completely over-engineered if we went down the classical approach and had like 5 instances and super redundancy and failover and all of that, because we would have needed it just for these 18 minutes, right? Okay, so much for the situation. Now a little bit more about this CQRS. So it stands for Command Query Responsibility Segregation. Was first described by a guy called Greg Young. I've linked this original description documents here in the slides. I will publish it slide later. And the basic principle is that you can separate the whole read from storage from the write to storage logic. And as you've seen in the other graphic, we took it one step further, and we even had like a read database and the write database. And actually, we started really liking this concept. Because for a lot of our projects, we have this demand to have a really good admin interface, and we wanted, of course, have like a good data model setup and all of this. But we knew that there's not much authoring going on, and then the data objects are just live there, but we will have a lot of reads. And sometimes, you know, you want to have another like client experience, and not only like calling lists from the Silverstripe backend. Maybe you want to have good search intelligence, like Solr or Elasticsearch is providing for you, something like that. Or you want to have a real-time functionality, like Firebase offers with Firestore and real-time DB. So we thought how we can have that a little bit more generic. And we want to have something like a very lean recipe. And we immediately started thinking module, right? Because yeah, we wanted to reuse it, and we wanted to have it a very like a little UI surface that it's as drop-in as possible. So the plan was, step 1, create your adapter for your payload store of choice, be it Redis, Elasticsearch, and so on. Step 2, implement an interface called data document in your data object, and bam, success, you're there. So that was what we wanted to do, and we came up with really, I think, a very, very small lean module, and showing some snippets. This interface, as you can see, when you want to implement an adapter, you just have to care for reading from the adapter or from the store, writing to it, and deleting data. And actually, it has been like this ever since. So since 2.5 years now, and actually all the scenarios we faced, it was okay, just with this little interface, this little surface. And this actual, so the main interface is even shorter. We just have get document. This is the function you would have to implement in your data object class, and get document store, so that we can know where to write it to. And what happens then? And I think that's particularly interesting because I've seen something similar what Tim Bird presented yesterday. So we used the class info to get all the implementers of this data document interface, and then we applied an extension to it. Because I think it feels a little cumbersome if you need to like have 2 places where you need to like adjust a data object to get all the magic going. If you have to implement this interface and then go to the config and assign the extension, because, well, sure, it's just 2 steps, but I think it would be cooler to just have this interface and do the module the rest of the work for you. The extension, okay, this may be a little small, but as you can see, it's not doing a lot. The extension actually uses 3 hooks. It's on off the write, it's on off the skipped write, so that it's also triggered if just the relation of the data object changes, and on before delete. So, and these are the hooks we used when the data object is mutated or deleted to handle the synchronization with the document payload store. Because that is happening in the commit method, we have the undo commit method, and we have like get document ID. This is something, sure, I need to provide some documentation for that, like the document ID, where in the payment store or under what key index it should be persisted there. And yeah, if you're up for it, I could demo it briefly. Do we have time for that? Yeah, shaking heads. Okay, okay, cool. Actually, I'm not using the Help Me project now. I'm using a current project because it's just started adapting our module to that, and it's really a very small and simple case. I have here my Silver Stripe backend, and it's about like it's an application in the banking area, and one of the very basic admins is managing like banks. And we just have a title, we have the big Swift code, and then you can like manage bank users. So yeah, so very, very lean. In the background, I have my Docker running, and there's a Firebase emulator suite. And there is also Firestore. And I'm just picking the right document. Okay. As you can see, this document here, this is basically the same thing. This is the document version of this data object. And looking at the code now, yeah, these are the snippets I've just showed you. These are the ones that are included in the slides. And now let's have a look at our model. Or you know what, I can show you the adapter for Firestore. So this is the one that implements the data document interface. And actually most of the stuff is happening in the constructor, because there we are grabbing this credential file, we are checking if it's an emulator or not, and then we are creating the client, specifying the project ID, and then this Firestore object, this client is ready to be used. And as you can see, it's just like some 40 lines of code. It's not that much. And we're just having here reading data from a snapshot. Here we're setting some data, and here we are deleting it. And that is it. So as you can see, very small. And the bank class, this is a classical data object, and it implements this data document interface. So as you can see, a very small data object, just 2 fields. And looking at the interface functions, here we go, also very small. Get document, it only like returns the title for now. Document ID, I'm specifying it should be in the collection banks, and the ID should be that big Swift code. So what I can do now, let's add user count, and let's see what was the name of the relation. It's bank admin users, always safer to copy. Saying this, admin users. Couch. Okay, if the demo goals are with me, if I save that now, it should be refreshed in Firestore. And it is, user count 6. So, yeah, and actually, you know, that's basically it. One more thing, you have the option to provide write options, and in that case, it's just a merge flag, because there is additional information, partner IDs. And this information is ingested by another backend service. If I wouldn't put this merge option thingy here, what would happen? It would overwrite the whole thing. If I save that now, you can see these partner IDs are gone. So this is really where we like experienced this little issue in production, and this was the first evolution already, or the first like tiny feature evolution of our module to start like being prepared for edge cases like this. And yeah, now if you have a client, it can solely rely on this Firestore. You can again shut your Silver Stripe down and just stream the data there. And the good thing is, because I heard Andy is not a big fan of WebSockets, but if you want to like use a real-time database like Firestore or CouchDB, you probably can go down that road because it has this live syncing mechanism, and then, bam, you have this live functionality in your application at really low cost. Because I don't know if you guys have experience with Firebase, it's super easy to set up. And yeah, then I feel this really is another headless approach for Silverstripe, and it's really headless because, as I said, you can shut it down. So yeah, without having like sole API business, if you are not into GraphQL and you don't want to learn that, because they are pushing it, I know. But yeah, it's just another way of working these things out, right? Okay. Yeah, and that actually was pretty much everything that is to it. What we're still up to, because dependency tree detection via SPL, as you guys know, there are two hot things in software development. It's naming things and it's invalidating caches. I think we did a good job with data documents, naming things, check. But cache invalidation, and it's pretty similar to our case here, that's a little bit more complex. I will look into what our friend from Japan, don't recall his name, told us today about these touches, and I don't know the terminology anymore, but this sounded like something I should look into, and we are already playing around with like automatic dependency tree detection over the standard PHP library. There's some cool stuff you can do by omitting the composer autoloader, spin up your own, then call a function, check what the autoloader detected, and then sorting out all that is not Silverstripe, just picking what is a data object, and then you see where I'm going with that? So this is some cool stuff you can do, because, as I said, I wanted it to be as drop-in as possible, so that you, the developers, don't have to care about that. It should be out of the box. So that's the first item. Then we wanted to make it possible to have support for third-party data object, where you cannot like attach an interface to, but we already have a plan for that. We want to come up with a basic library of third-party payload store adapters, so that like the 10 most popular Elasticsearch, Redis, MongoDB, and so on are already there, that it really is ready to use. And then, of course, I want to provide some documentation, how to get started fast, and yeah, what is the basic concept of the whole thing. Module is in the making. Actually, I just published the first version yesterday, following the checklist from James. Thanks again. Where is he? Good job, buddy. It's really just the things in the current repo that I showcased today, so it's very lean. Still working on that. Yeah. One last thing, you might be wondering, we sealed the deal. Oh yeah. You can see. Thank you. You can see our very happy CEO, Victoria, in the middle, and our two investors, Carsten Maschmeyer and Nils Glaugo. So that was exciting. And believe me, I had some nervous 18 minutes. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Julian. Presenting something that nobody has heard of. It's really a big thing here.
Wow.
So, any questions?
Oh boy, he's back.
No, just an understanding question. So, when you say pushing it to Elasticsearch or something, this could also be the basic for indexing your documents in Elasticsearch just as a search service then?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool.
It's definitely the case for that.
You wanted to say something about caching. Do you want to say it now?
Why are you doing this to me?
No, this is not. No.
Okay.
The talk we heard earlier this morning. I know all of you know it. I'm still feel the need to say it. If you build caches in file systems or whatever, do not cache user data.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
because he didn't mention it in his talk, maybe because he got cut off before he could. But always, like if you cache entire pages or whatever, think about the issue with the user menu in the right top or something. Do not cache entire pages. I keep seeing this issue.
Amen.
Thank you. Michal?
So yeah, we used Firebase last year for some stuff as well. It's really cool. The real-time stuff is it's handy. Did you find a problem with? It's basically a document database, so like the structured data in Silverstripe versus any data in in Firebase? Like, did you have some like consistency or structure problems with it, or did you update the data in Firebase when you needed to because it's faster? You can do it just through the UI. Like, has it happened?
You know, actually not. Actually not, because we are not like, we consider the data that is like generated by data documents as untouchable. So because, you know, this is generated data, so if there's something wrong with the data, there's something wrong in the logic, how we set the whole thing up. And yeah, as of now, we never had a problem. So that, I'd say lucky us.
There was another question. Niklas?
Yeah, I was thinking, have you thought about implementing, I saw you had like, you could fetch documents by ID, but have you thought about implementing some kind of search? So you could abstract that search in different adapters?
Well, not particularly, because we feel that is another aspect of the whole thing. Because if you really want to implement the search and filtering and sorting and all of that, it should be the responsibility of the service talking to this payload store provider. Because data document is only responsible for indexing it, like putting the data document to that location in the payload store where you want it to be, and purging it again. So this is why we are only going like for the data ID or the index, if you will. And yeah, the rest is up to the service that you are using later on, because there are always different like requirements from project to project. So this is why we cared for the flexibility to having all the payload store adapters you want. Yeah. Okay.
So thank you very much, Julian.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you.